I wake up in a sterile hospital room, my head throbbing with each pulse of pain. The soft beep of the heart monitor is the only sound cutting through the haze. My vision clears, and I see her, my wife, Emily, sitting beside me. She's wearing a worried expression, her eyes red-rimmed. The sight of her makes my chest tighten with anger. "John," she whispers, her voice trembling, "I'm so sorry you had to see that. I didn't expect him to—" "Don't," I cut her off, my voice gravelly. "Don't try to explain. I saw everything." Her face flushes and she reaches out to hold my hand. I pull away, wincing, as the movement sends a jolt through my aching head. I want to lash out, but I force myself to stay calm. Emily's betrayal cuts deeper than any physical injury. "He didn't mean to hurt you," she continues, her tone pleading. He knocked me out cold," I snap. I don't need to hear excuses. I struggle to sit up, the room spinning around me. Emily's presence is suffocating. Her attempts to comfort me feel hollow. She's the reason I'm here, injured and humiliated. I remember the image of her entwined with her lover, the sharp, brutal impact of his punch, and my world spirals into a pit of rage and betrayal. "I know you're angry," Emily says softly, "but I hope you won't go to the police. We can work this out privately." Her request ignites a fire inside me. The idea of letting her and her lover escape consequences makes my blood boil. "Work it out," I repeat incredulously. "You think there's anything left to salvage?" Emily's eyes fill with tears. "Please, John, we can fix this. Just don't go to the police." I stare at her, my thoughts racing. How could she think a few apologies and tearful pleas could undo the damage? The trust is shattered beyond repair. I don't need the police to punish them. I'll make sure they suffer in a way that they'll never forget. "I won't involve the police," I say slowly, each word deliberate. "But I will destroy both of you." Her face goes pale. She opens her mouth to protest, but I cut her off with a wave of my hand. "Get out," I say firmly. "I need to think." Emily's footsteps retreat, her sobs fading as she leaves. I'm left alone, the silence of the room pressing down on me. My mind races with thoughts of revenge. I think about my son, Mark, who's supposed to support me but has sided with his mother. His betrayal stings almost as much as Emily's. Everything I thought I knew about my family has been upended. My marriage, once a source of pride and stability, is now a crumbling ruin. My career and personal life are hanging by a thread, and my son's silence feels like a knife in my back. As I lie back on the hospital bed, I make a vow. I will not let them get away with this. I will find a way to make them pay for the betrayal, for the pain they've caused. My decision is clear. My life now revolves around revenge, and I'm determined to see it through. The hospital room feels even more suffocating after Emily leaves. Alone, I take in the stark white walls and the sterile smell. My head still pounds from the punch, but the pain is overshadowed by a deeper, more insidious ache: betrayal. I try to piece together the fragments of my life before this nightmare began, but it's like trying to assemble a puzzle with missing pieces. I need answers. As soon as I'm discharged, I start my investigation. I dig through the piles of paperwork on my desk at home. Old bank statements, credit card receipts, and travel records scatter across the floor. Each document is a potential clue to understanding the extent of Emily's deception. My hands tremble as I sift through the evidence. There's one receipt that stands out: an expensive dinner at a high-end restaurant not far from our home. I remember the day clearly. I was out of town on business. Emily had called, sounding upbeat and light, as if nothing was wrong. She said she was having dinner with friends. A lie, it seems. As I delve deeper, the betrayal twists sharper. I uncover email exchanges between Emily and her lover, Jason. Their communication is riddled with terms of endearment and plans to meet, far beyond a casual affair. They talk about trips and future plans. Jason isn't just some fling. He's a part of a scheme. I need more than just documents. I need witnesses. I reach out to a private investigator, a grizzled man named Sam, who's known for his discretion. Over coffee, I lay out everything I know. Sam listens, his eyes narrowing as I recount the affair and the brutal punch. Jason's a piece of work, Sam says, his voice gravelly. But I need to know if your son, Mark, is truly involved. The mere mention of Mark stings. He should have been my ally, but instead, he's been conspicuously silent. I feel a pang of betrayal every time I think of him. Sam's investigation begins. In the meantime, I confront Mark. He's hesitant, avoiding eye contact as I lay out the evidence of Emily's betrayal. Dad, Mark's voice wavers. I was trying to protect Mom. Protect her? I explode. She's been sleeping with another man, and you've been covering for her. Mark looks away, shame evident on his face. I didn't know it would get this bad. I thought. You thought what? I cut him off. That it would all just blow over? Mark's face is a mix of guilt and fear. I was trying to keep the family together. I didn't want you to know. His words only deepened my anger. You're complicit in this mess. You covered up for her. You're as guilty as she is. The conversation leaves me seething. Mark's betrayal feels like a stab to the heart. He should have been the one person I could count on. Instead, he's aligned himself with Emily's lies. Days pass in a blur of sleepless nights and mounting frustration. Sam returns with disturbing news. Emily and Jason have been more than just lovers. They've been plotting against you, Sam says. There's talk of undermining your business. My heart races. The realization that their affair was part of a larger scheme is infuriating. I've always prided myself on being a shrewd businessman, but this betrayal is a different beast. They're trying to ruin me from the inside. Sam's revelations are just the beginning. As I gather more evidence, I start to see the full picture. Emily and Jason's affair was just a front. They've been manipulating financial records, draining accounts, and setting up false transactions. The scheme is intricate and deeply embedded in my business. I confront Emily again, this time with concrete proof of her machinations. She looks cornered, her bravado slipping. John, please, I didn't mean for it to go this far. It's too late for apologies, I say coldly. You and Jason have been plotting against me. I'm done with your lies. Emily's eyes are wide with fear. What are you going to do? I don't answer. I don't need to. My resolve is set. The evidence I've gathered is enough to bring them down. I plan to expose everything. My decision is clear. I will destroy their lives the way they've destroyed mine. With each passing day, the situation becomes more complicated. I find myself at a crossroads, torn between the need for revenge and the practical implications of going public. The more I dig, the clearer it becomes that their betrayal is more than just a personal vendetta. It's a calculated effort to dismantle my entire life. My mind races as I prepare to take action. The thought of revenge drives me, but I also know that exposing them will come with its own set of consequences. The trial is looming, and every detail must be perfect. The pain of betrayal is a constant companion. I feel it in every interaction, every decision. My once stable life is now a battleground, and I'm determined to fight for my dignity and my future. The ending of this part is clear. My investigation has uncovered the full extent of their betrayal, and my path is set. The next step is to bring everything to light and confront them head-on. My life has shifted from a search for truth to a quest for retribution. The days following my confrontation with Mark are filled with mounting frustration. I'm consumed with a singular goal: to dismantle Emily and Jason's scheme and expose their deceit. My initial attempts are focused, methodical, but they are quickly met with unexpected complications. I start by consolidating all the evidence. My office becomes a war room. Documents, photos, and financial records are spread out on my desk. I have Sam, the private investigator, combing through everything with me. The task is daunting, but I'm driven by a relentless need for justice. One afternoon, Sam brings troubling news. They know you're investigating, he says, his voice low. Emily and Jason are starting to cover their tracks. I can't believe it. How did they find out? My frustration boils over. How is that possible? I'm being so careful. Sam shakes his head. It's possible they have someone on the inside, someone who tipped them off. My blood runs cold. The idea that someone could be feeding them information makes my skin crawl. I feel a surge of anger, not just at Emily and Jason, but at the thought of being betrayed by someone I trust. I confront Emily, hoping to get some answers. We meet at a small cafe, away from prying eyes. She looks frazzled, her usually immaculate appearance marred by stress. "John," she begins, her voice strained, "I'm trying to make things right." "Make things right?" I ask, incredulous. "You're plotting against me and covering up your affair. How is that making things right?" Emily's eyes dart around and she lowers her voice. "Jason has connections. He's pulling strings, making it difficult for you to find the truth. And Mark, don't you dare mention Mark," I cut her off. "He's already proven his disloyalty." Emily looks pained. "He's been manipulated, John. He didn't mean to be part of this." Her words are a weak attempt at justification. I'm not buying it. "I need to know what else you've been hiding. What else is Jason involved in?" Emily shakes her head, tears brimming. "I can't tell you everything. But there's a lot more at stake here than you realize." I leave the cafe more determined than ever. Emily's evasive answers only fuel my resolve. I know now that I'm up against more than just a personal betrayal. Their scheme is elaborate and well-coordinated. The following days are a whirlwind. I start noticing strange occurrences, unexplained calls, anonymous messages. It's clear they're trying to intimidate me into backing down. One evening, I find a threatening note pinned to my front door. It reads, "Stop digging or suffer the consequences." The note shakes me, but also hardens my resolve. I refuse to be intimidated. If anything, their threats only push me to accelerate my plans. I work late into the night, piecing together the puzzle of their conspiracy. My next step is to confront Jason directly. I find him at a swanky bar, his demeanor as smug and self-assured as ever. I approach him, my anger barely contained. "Jason," I say, my voice low and dangerous, "I know what you're up to, and I won't let you get away with it." Jason's smile fades. He looks at me with a mix of annoyance and surprise. "You're treading on dangerous ground, John." I lean in closer, my eyes locked on his. "You and Emily have crossed a line. I'm going to expose everything." Jason's expression hardens. "You think you're the first to challenge me? You have no idea what you're dealing with." I leave the bar feeling both invigorated and unsettled. Jason's reaction tells me just how far-reaching their scheme is. They've managed to entrench themselves in my life and my business. I decide it's time to go public. I contact a journalist I trust, someone who has covered high-profile cases before. We meet in a discreet location, and I lay out the evidence. The journalist, Laura, is intrigued. "This is explosive material," she says, "but are you prepared for the fallout?" I nod. I'm ready. I've already lost too much to back down now. Laura starts working on the story, and I prepare myself for the inevitable backlash. My world starts to unravel further as Emily and Jason try to manipulate public opinion. They reach out to friends and family, painting me as the villain. Their campaign is ruthless. Mark's attempts to reconcile with me are futile. He calls repeatedly, begging for forgiveness and claiming he was coerced by Emily. I'm not swayed. His actions have already caused irreparable damage. "I'm sorry, Dad," Mark says over the phone, his voice cracking with emotion. "I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to protect Mom." I can't hold back my anger. "You failed to protect me. You failed to be honest. We're done." The rift between us feels like a chasm. I'm left with the bitter realization that my family is fractured beyond repair. The tension builds as Laura prepares to publish the story. I feel a mix of anxiety and anticipation. This is the moment I've been waiting for, a chance to reveal the truth and hold Emily and Jason accountable. The day the story goes live, I watch as the media picks up the headlines. The affair, the financial manipulations, the threats, it's all out in the open. Emily and Jason are publicly exposed. The fallout is swift. My phone rings constantly with calls from reporters, colleagues, and old friends. The consequences are harsh. Emily loses her social standing. Her friends abandon her. Jason's business dealings come under scrutiny. The scandal is everywhere. In the midst of this chaos, I receive threats and face attempts to sabotage my career. But I'm unwavering. My resolve is fortified by the knowledge that I've fought for the truth. As the situation escalates, I find myself alone but resolute. The stakes are high and the risks are immense. But despite the mounting threats and the damage to my personal life, I am driven by a single purpose: to see justice served and to reclaim my dignity. The weeks following the public revelation of Emily and Jason's affair are a whirlwind of chaos. My life teeters on the edge of collapse. As the scandal unfolds, I find myself embroiled in a series of crises that test my limits. The stakes are higher than ever, and the consequences are more profound than I anticipated. Jason's attempts to sabotage my career escalate rapidly. It starts subtly. My emails are hacked, confidential documents are leaked. My business associates receive anonymous tips about my questionable ethics. It feels like a relentless assault designed to undermine my credibility and ruin everything I've built. I meet with my lawyer, Charles, in his office, hoping for guidance. The room is somber, the air heavy with the weight of our discussion. Charles reviews the latest documents. "This is beyond just a smear campaign," he says, his brow furrowed. "Jason's leveraging every connection he has. We need to act fast to contain the damage." I nod, my frustration boiling. "I want to fight back. I need to protect my reputation and my company." Charles agrees. "We'll file a defamation suit, but be prepared for a long and arduous battle." Jason has deep pockets and a lot of influence. As we finalize the legal strategy, my son Mark reaches out again. He wants to meet. I'm torn. Part of me wants to cut him out of my life entirely, but another part feels the need for closure. I agree to see him, hoping for some understanding or at least an explanation. We meet in a quiet park, far from the prying eyes of the media. Mark looks distraught, his face etched with guilt and frustration. "Dad," he begins, his voice trembling. "I know I messed up. I was trying to protect Mom, but I see now how wrong I was." I cross my arms, trying to keep my emotions in check. "You were complicit in her betrayal. You chose to side with her instead of supporting me." Mark looks down, tears in his eyes. "I didn't know how to handle it. I was scared of losing both of you, but now I see how much damage I've caused." His apology does little to ease the pain. "It's too late for apologies, Mark. You've already done irreparable damage." We part ways with unresolved tension hanging between us. I'm left feeling more isolated than ever. My relationship with Mark is strained, and the personal betrayal cuts deep. In the midst of these personal struggles, the attack on my career intensifies. My phone rings incessantly with calls from reporters and angry clients. The stress is overwhelming. I find myself questioning whether I can withstand the pressure. One night, as I'm working late in my home office, I receive an anonymous phone call. The voice on the other end is chillingly calm. "You're playing a dangerous game, John. If you continue with this vendetta, you'll lose more than just your reputation." I hang up, my heart racing. The threats are becoming more personal, more direct. I can't afford to back down now. I need to stay focused on exposing the full extent of Emily and Jason's betrayal. I continue to gather evidence, hoping to uncover something that will turn the tide in my favor. My investigation leads me to discover more about Jason's shady dealings. It's clear that he's deeply entrenched in illegal activities, using his influence to manipulate and exploit others. Laura, the journalist, is instrumental in helping me dig deeper. She's relentless, tracking down leads and confirming facts. We meet frequently to review our findings and strategize the next steps. One evening, as we're going over documents, Laura looks up with a concerned expression. "John, I've found something that could be a game changer. It's evidence of a financial transaction between Jason and a known criminal organization." My heart pounds. This is the break we've been waiting for. "Are you sure? This could be huge." Laura nods. "I'm certain. This could be the key to unraveling Jason's entire operation." We prepare to go public with this new information, hoping it will shift the balance of power. As we work on the story, the threats against me escalate. My home is vandalized and my car is tampered with. I'm constantly on edge, feeling like I'm under siege. Despite the mounting pressure, I remain determined. I refuse to let Jason and Emily win. I continue to fight, driven by a need for justice and a desire to reclaim my life. My decision to go public with the new evidence leads to a media frenzy. The story breaks, and the backlash against Jason and Emily is immediate. Jason's connections are scrutinized, and his involvement with criminal elements is exposed. The scandal reaches new heights, and the public's perception of both him and Emily is irrevocably tarnished. Emily's situation becomes increasingly dire. She's shunned by her social circle and faces legal consequences for her part in the scheme. The fallout from the scandal is swift and severe, with her reputation in tatters. Amidst this turmoil, I receive a final attempt at reconciliation from Mark. He reaches out one last time, hoping to mend our fractured relationship. I'm conflicted, torn between the desire to repair our bond and the pain of his betrayal. Mark's call is filled with desperation. "Dad, please. I know I messed up. I want to make things right." I take a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Mark, this isn't just about making things right. It's about trust and integrity. You've broken that trust, and it's not something that can be easily repaired." The conversation ends with a heavy silence. I'm left with a profound sense of loss, knowing that our relationship may never fully recover. As the crisis reaches its peak, I find myself at a crossroads. The personal and professional challenges have pushed me to the brink. I'm on the edge of losing everything I've worked for, and the emotional toll is immense. But even in the darkest moments, I find a glimmer of hope. The public's support and the mounting legal pressure on Jason and Emily give me strength. I'm determined to see this through to the end, to expose the truth and hold those responsible accountable. The situation is dire, and the stakes are high, but I refuse to give in. My fight for justice continues, driven by the need to reclaim my dignity and restore a sense of order to my life. The path ahead is uncertain, but I'm committed to facing whatever comes next, no matter the cost. The storm of scandal and betrayal finally reaches its zenith. My decision to release the incriminating evidence against Emily and Jason proves to be a turning point. As the news breaks, it feels like the world is collapsing around me, and yet, at the same time, it's also starting to rebuild. The moment I hit send on the press release containing all the damning evidence, emails, financial records, text messages, it's as if a weight is lifted, but the reality of the chaos to come is dawning. The media frenzy begins immediately. Cameras swarm around my office. Reporters call nonstop, and my phone buzzes incessantly with messages of support and outrage. I spend the next few days in a daze, trying to stay one step ahead of the fallout. Emily's world unravels quickly. The once pristine image of the perfect wife and mother is shattered. The social circles she so carefully curated now view her with disdain. She's cornered, her attempts to save face only adding fuel to the fire. The once comforting aura of her privileged life is now a burden she can't escape. I see the effects in real time as I watch the news. Emily's public appearances turn into scenes of humiliation. The cameras capture her distressed expressions and the angry mobs outside her home. I can't help but feel a perverse satisfaction in her downfall, but the cost of this revenge is becoming increasingly clear. Jason's exposure is equally catastrophic. His criminal ties are now public knowledge. The once untouchable businessman is now being investigated by law enforcement and facing potential criminal charges. I take a grim satisfaction in seeing him squirm. His arrogant demeanor is replaced by desperation. He tries to salvage what's left of his reputation, but the damage is done. His resources can't shield him from the consequences of his actions. The collateral damage, however, is more profound than I anticipated. Mark's estrangement becomes glaringly apparent. The rift between us deepens as the scandal unfolds. My son's involvement in covering up Emily's affair is laid bare, and the public judgment falls harshly upon him. I watch as his name is dragged through the mud, his own professional and personal life in tatters. The betrayal feels complete, a wound that won't easily heal. In the midst of this turmoil, my focus shifts to regaining control of my life. The legal battles are intense. My lawsuit against Jason for defamation and sabotage is in full swing. I'm in constant meetings with Charles, navigating through the legal complexities. Every document, every deposition feels like a battle. The court hearings are public spectacles, drawing even more media attention. It's a harsh reminder of how far-reaching the consequences of this mess are. Despite the stress, I'm determined to reclaim my dignity and my life. I start to rebuild my career, focusing on restoring my reputation. I have to be cautious, carefully managing my public image. The process is slow and arduous, but every small victory feels like a step towards recovery. I put in long hours at the office making strategic decisions to get my business back on track. My personal life, though, is more challenging. The emotional scars from the betrayal are deep. I find myself struggling to trust again, questioning my own judgment and relationships. The loneliness of this journey is heavy. I try to surround myself with supportive friends, but the void left by Emily and Mark is hard to fill. I grapple with feelings of anger, sadness, and a profound sense of loss. One evening, as I sit alone in my office, I receive a call from Laura. She's been a steadfast ally throughout this ordeal, helping to expose the truth and navigate the fallout. Her voice is warm and comforting, a reminder of the support I've had along this tumultuous journey. "John, I wanted to check in and see how you're holding up," Laura says. Her concern is genuine, and I appreciate the call. "I'm managing," I reply, though my voice betrays the weariness I feel. "It's been a hell of a ride." Laura offers words of encouragement. "You've done something courageous. It's going to take time, but things will get better." Her words are a balm to my frayed nerves. We talk for a while, discussing the aftermath of the scandal and the steps I'm taking to rebuild. Her support is a small but significant source of solace in the chaos. As the months pass, the situation stabilizes. The legal battles continue, but the immediate crisis has subsided. Emily and Jason face the consequences of their actions. Emily's social standing is in ruins, and Jason's legal troubles are far from over. My own situation improves gradually. My business is on the mend, and I begin to see a path forward. I focus on my personal growth. I start to explore new interests and hobbies, trying to fill the void left by the tumultuous events. I take up new fitness routines, spend time on self-improvement, and slowly open myself to the possibility of new relationships. The journey to recovery is ongoing, but I'm determined to move forward. One of the most significant changes is my renewed focus on my well-being. I start seeing a therapist, working through the emotional fallout from the betrayal. The sessions are painful but cathartic. I confront the anger and sadness that have clouded my life and begin to find a sense of closure. The process of rebuilding isn't easy, but it's necessary. I confront the truth of what happened and work through the emotional wreckage. It's a journey of self-discovery and healing, one that requires patience and resilience. The scars from the past remain, but they become a part of my story, a testament to the strength I've found within myself. The legal battles eventually come to a close, with favorable outcomes for me. Jason's legal troubles drag on, but his influence is diminished. Emily's attempts to salvage her reputation are met with public scorn. The finality of these outcomes provides a sense of justice, though the personal cost remains significant. As I look toward the future, I focus on rebuilding my life with renewed determination. I explore new opportunities, both professionally and personally. The journey is far from over, but I'm ready to embrace the next chapter of my life. The past has shaped me, but it doesn't define my future. The story of revenge and betrayal is coming to a close, but the impact of these events will resonate for years to come. I've faced unimaginable challenges and emerged with a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead is one of healing and growth, and I'm prepared to face it with the strength and resilience that have become a part of who I am. I find myself standing in the middle of what feels like a storm, no, a hurricane, of emotions and consequences. The final confrontation with Mark has been looming, and now it's time. He wants to meet, to talk face to face. I agree, though the thought of it churns my stomach with anxiety and unresolved anger. The meeting place is a quiet cafe, far from the chaotic scenes of our lives over the past months. It's early morning, and the place is just starting to wake up. I sit at a corner table, nervously tapping my fingers on the polished surface. I look up as Mark walks in. He's carrying himself with a mix of defiance and desperation. His eyes, which used to be so full of confidence, now seem to carry the weight of regret. He approaches the table, and I motion for him to sit. The air between us is thick with unspoken words and raw emotion. "Dad," Mark starts, his voice unsteady. "I'm glad you agreed to meet." I don't return his greeting. I can barely hide the bitterness in my tone. "Glad? You're glad? You've been part of a conspiracy to ruin my life. What makes you think I want to hear anything you have to say?" Mark's face flushes with a mix of shame and frustration. I know. I know what I did was wrong, but you have to understand, I was coerced. Mom and Jason, they were ruthless. His confession hits hard, but it doesn't erase the betrayal. Coerced? Is that what you tell yourself to sleep at night? You could have come to me. You could have stood by me, but instead you helped them tear my life apart. Mark looks down, struggling to find the right words. I was afraid. They threatened me. My career, my future. I didn't know what to do. I lean back, trying to digest his words. His fear and helplessness are palpable, but they don't absolve him of his actions. So you chose to protect yourself over your own father? What about the damage done to me, to our family? I didn't see any other way out, Mark says, his voice breaking. I was cornered, Dad. And now I see how wrong it was, how it all spiraled out of control. I take a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. It's too late for regrets. The damage is done. I'm left to pick up the pieces of a life that was shattered by those I trusted the most. He looks up, his eyes wet with tears. I know. I'm so sorry. I wish I could undo it all, but I can't. All I ask is for a chance to make amends, to rebuild something, if not with you, then at least for myself. The sincerity in his plea is almost convincing, but the hurt runs too deep. I feel a pang of sympathy, but also a strong urge to protect myself. What can you possibly do to fix this? Your actions have consequences, and they've affected more than just our relationship. Mark nods, understanding the gravity of his actions. I'm facing the fallout of my choices, my career is in jeopardy, and my reputation is in ruins. I'm paying for what I did. The silence stretches between us, uncomfortable and heavy. Finally, I speak again, my voice firmer. You're right. You are paying for your actions. But this isn't just about you. It's about me reclaiming my life and moving forward. Mark's shoulders slump. I get that. I do. And I respect whatever decision you make. I just wanted to face you and be honest about my part in this. His honesty, though heartfelt, feels like a small consolation against the backdrop of the turmoil he's helped create. I look at him, my heart conflicted. I appreciate your honesty, but it doesn't change the fact that I need to move on. I need to rebuild my life. The meeting ends on a somber note. We part ways with a mix of unresolved tension and a glimmer of understanding. It's not the closure I had hoped for, but it's a step towards healing. As I drive away from the cafe, I reflect on the final confrontation and its implications. Mark's part in the scandal has caused irreparable damage, but his regret is a reminder that even those who've wronged us can be consumed by their choices. I'm left with the task of dealing with my own emotions and the reality of the situation. The trial against Emily and Jason looms large. The legal proceedings are a public spectacle, drawing attention from media and onlookers. Emily faces charges of fraud and conspiracy, while Jason's legal troubles are compounded by the revelations of his criminal activities. Their lives are in freefall, and the court cases are a dramatic end to the saga of betrayal. I watch the trials unfold with a mix of detachment and relief. The courtroom becomes a battleground where the truth is laid bare. Emily's attempts to salvage her reputation fall flat under the weight of evidence against her. Jason's attempts to manipulate the legal system are futile, as the evidence and testimonies paint a damning picture. Despite the satisfaction of seeing justice served, the personal toll of the ordeal remains. My relationship with Mark is strained, and the emotional scars from the betrayal are deep. The trials and the scandal have exposed the fragility of trust and the harsh reality of human nature. As the dust begins to settle, I find myself seeking solace in the quieter moments of life. I focus on personal growth and healing, trying to reclaim a sense of normalcy. The process is slow and arduous, but every small victory feels like progress. I reconnect with old friends, seek new interests, and slowly start to open myself to the possibility of new relationships. The journey of rebuilding is ongoing, but I'm determined to move forward with a renewed sense of purpose. In the end, the confrontation with Mark and the trials against Emily and Jason are significant milestones in a long and challenging journey. They mark the end of a chapter marked by betrayal and conflict, but they also signal the beginning of a new phase of healing and growth. The path to recovery is far from straightforward, but it's a journey I'm committed to. I find strength in moving forward and in the hope that the future holds the promise of renewal and a chance to rebuild a life that was once shattered by betrayal. I step out onto the balcony of my new apartment, the cityscape sprawling out before me. It's a clear day, and the sun feels like a promise of renewal. The past months have been a relentless storm, but now, as I look out over the horizon, I can see the outlines of a new beginning. The apartment is small, but it's mine. It's a fresh start, a place where I can rebuild and find peace. Revenge and retribution have exacted their toll. My life, once filled with the security of family and the excitement of a thriving career, has been upended. Yet in the midst of this chaos, I have found something unexpected: clarity. I've learned that even amidst the wreckage of betrayal, there can be strength and hope. The days following the trials have been a whirlwind. The courtroom drama is over, and the consequences of Emily's and Jason's actions are now public knowledge. Emily's world has crumbled. Her social standing evaporated in the wake of the scandal, leaving her a shadow of the woman she once was. Jason faces a litany of legal troubles, his once prominent career reduced to ruins. As I sift through the remains of my old life, I am acutely aware of the cost. My relationship with Mark remains strained. We've had few conversations since the final confrontation. The rift between us is profound, filled with unresolved pain and disappointment. Still, I hold on to a glimmer of hope that, with time, we might find a way to mend the broken pieces. The true challenge now lies in moving forward. I'm determined to reclaim my sense of self and build something meaningful from the ashes. It's a daunting task, but one that I approach with a new perspective. Dating again is both exhilarating and nerve-wracking. My first few dates are a mix of awkwardness and excitement. I find myself nervous, my past failures casting long shadows. Yet I also feel a renewed sense of possibility. I meet new people, engaging in conversations that feel both refreshing and daunting. One evening, I find myself at a small bistro, sitting across from a woman named Laura. She's warm and engaging, her laughter a soothing balm for the scars of my past. Our conversation flows effortlessly, touching on everything from travel to books, and for the first time in a long while, I feel something akin to normalcy. Laura has a way of making me feel at ease, as though the tumultuous waves of the past have receded, even if only temporarily. The budding connection with Laura gives me a sense of hope. I start to believe in the possibility of happiness again. Each date with her is a step away from the pain and towards something new. I'm cautious, but I'm also open to the idea that the future might hold more than just echoes of my past mistakes. Rebuilding my career also becomes a central focus. The damage caused by Jason's sabotage was extensive, but I am determined to restore my professional life. I work tirelessly, meeting with clients, re-establishing connections, and rebranding myself. The road to recovery is challenging, but every small success feels like a victory. One day, as I'm reviewing a new business proposal, I receive a call from an old colleague. He's heard about my struggles and offers me a chance to partner on a new venture. It's an opportunity that could significantly boost my career and provide the financial stability I need. I accept, cautiously optimistic about the future. Throughout this process, I am learning to embrace the lessons of the past. The anger and betrayal have transformed into a deeper understanding of who I am and what I want. I've discovered strength I didn't know I possessed and resilience that has carried me through the darkest times. As I continue to rebuild, I also make an effort to reconnect with friends and family. The estrangement from my son remains a heavy burden, but I'm reaching out to others who have supported me through this ordeal. Their support is a reminder that even when it feels like the world has turned its back, there are still people who care. In the evenings, I often find solace in my new routine. I read, write, and sometimes just sit in quiet reflection. The apartment, once a symbol of a painful transition, now feels like a sanctuary. I am learning to find peace in the simple moments and to appreciate the journey towards recovery. The story of my life is far from over. The trials and tribulations of the past have left their mark, but they have also shaped me into someone stronger and more self-aware. I have lost much, but I've also gained a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. As I look toward the future, I feel a sense of readiness. I am ready to embrace new opportunities, to build new relationships, and to continue growing as a person. The future holds promise, and I am eager to explore it with an open heart and a hopeful spirit. My quest for revenge has led me to a place of unexpected transformation. The pain and betrayal have given way to a deeper understanding of myself and the world around me. I am moving forward with a sense of resolve, ready to face whatever comes next with a newfound strength. The journey has been arduous, but it has also been enlightening. As I take a step towards a new beginning, I am filled with hope for a better, more honest life. The past has shaped me, but it does not define my future. With each new day, I embrace the possibility of a brighter horizon and the promise of a life rebuilt with integrity and purpose.